When I was a young child, I was alone a lot. My brothers were a lot older than I was. They were all caught up in their own lives. My parents, unfortunately, were entangled in a lot of their dysfunction in their marriage. My father, an alcoholic, a rageaholic, was extremely unpredictable. A storm that could basically rage at any moment. My mother, on the other hand, a radical codependent, was consumed with managing his chaos, which of course left little room for me. So I learned to escape. I learned to escape in the only way that I knew how. I created. I had no dad to throw a baseball with, no brothers to toss a football in the yard with, but I had a tennis ball and I had a garage. At first, I did the only thing I could think of. I threw the ball at the garage door hard, over and over. Each time it smacked the metal, it shot back at me, but never quite like a real game of catch. The ball would skitter across the concrete, rolling lifelessly to a stop. I'd have to chase it down, of course, scoop it up, and then start all over again. It wasn't enough, though. It wasn't right. Then one day, something clicked. An idea. It may not seem like much now, but at 8 years old, it was an absolute revelation. See, I cracked open the garage door just slightly, just enough to wedge a couple of bricks underneath it. The angle changed everything. Now when I hurled the ball at the door, it struck the metal, it ricocheted off the incline, it soared high into the air, spinning, twisting, defying gravity for just a moment. I stood underneath it with my eyes locked, waiting, thump, right into my glove, right into my hands. The first time that I caught it, I remember this. Something inside me ignited. I experienced this joy, this power, this triumph. It worked. I had turned my solitude into a game, my loneliness into innovation. And from that day forward, I spent hours outside perfecting my throws, anticipating the unpredictable bounces, testing the limits of my creation. What I didn't realize then was that I wasn't just playing. I was surviving. That tennis ball, that garage door, that small act of defiance against the chaos, they were all my way of reclaiming something that had been missing. They were proof that in the middle of dysfunction, in the absence of connection, creativity could be both a refuge and a rebellion. And maybe that's the real secret right there. Creativity isn't just about art, music, invention. Sometimes it's about survival. Sometimes it's about taking what little you have and turning it into something that keeps you going. And it all starts with a single idea, a small shift, a crack in the door. You were just a kid when you first started creating. Maybe you didn't even realize it. You scribbled stories in the margins of your homework. You retreated into worlds that you made up because this one felt just too overwhelming. You filled sketchbooks with images that spoke the words that you couldn't say. You made people laugh, not just for fun, but to keep the peace, to deflect pain, to survive. What you didn't know then was that you were training. What felt like an escape was actually a weapon. What looked like a distraction was really a foundation. Because creativity, when born in survival, has the power to become something far greater. It can shape careers, forge identities, heal wounds, if you're willing to move from survival mode to mastery. So today, we're talking about how those childhood creative instincts, the ones that kept you safe, can become your greatest strength. Now let's talk about turning imaginary worlds into storytelling and writing. Maybe, as a kid, you were always lost in your own worlds, building stories in your mind, rewriting painful realities, inventing characters that gave you strength that you wished you had. Back then, you were surviving. You used storytelling as a way to escape the chaos around you. You wrote letters that you never sent. You kept journals full of hidden emotions or created alternate realities where you had control. Maybe you even had imaginary friends who understood you better than anyone else did. But what if those worlds weren't just for survival? Now you can thrive. Those stories can now become novels. They can become memoirs. They can become blogs or screenplays that connect deeply with others. That ability to rewrite reality can help you shape narratives that bring meaning to your experiences. Your storytelling can heal, inspire, resonate, not just for you, but for others who need it too. The danger? Well, the danger is staying stuck in escapism, right? Afraid to share your truth. But if you reclaim your creative voice, you move beyond survival. Now let's talk about turning symbolic art into a creative career. Maybe instead of writing, you were the kid who drew everything. You sketched when words failed. You created symbols for emotions that you couldn't explain. You used color and you used shape to process the world around you. Your drawings were your shield. They spoke when you couldn't. But what if that instinct to create wasn't just about protection, but purpose? Now you can thrive. Your art can become your voice, whether through illustration, digital design, tattooing, storytelling, through visuals, whatever. You can use art to help others heal through therapeutic expression, mentoring, or creating work that speaks for those who feel unseen. What once felt too personal to share can become your greatest gift to the world. The challenge? Learning to create outside of pain, embracing joy, discipline, and refinement, rather than staying trapped in raw expression. Your art was born from survival. Now it can become your legacy. Now let's talk about using humor as a tool for connection and healing. And then there's the creators who survived through laughter. This would be one of my brothers. Maybe you use jokes. Maybe humor was your way of deflecting pain, turning sorrow into punchlines. Maybe you learned early that making people laugh meant they'd accept you, so you became the funny one. But what if your humor wasn't just defense? Now you can thrive. That ability to read a room, find timing, craft a punchline is a skill, one that can be used in comedy, speaking, leadership, or even storytelling. Humor isn't just about avoiding pain. It can be a bridge to deeper conversations, a tool for change, and a way to connect with people in powerful ways. When used with intention, laughter becomes more than survival. It actually becomes transformation. The danger, hiding behind the joke, never allowing yourself to be vulnerable. But when you learn to balance humor with depth, your voice carries more impact than ever. Now let's talk about moving from survival mode to mastery. Across every creative discipline, writing, art, humor, music, movement, so many of us started as survivors. We created to escape. We created to express what we couldn't say. We created because it was the one thing that gave us a sense of control. But creativity, it's not just a survival tool. It's a superpower. And if you want to move from reacting to your past to shaping your future, you have to make a shift. From reactionary to intentional, from instinctual to refined, from hidden to shared. The world doesn't just need creators who survive. It needs creators who thrive. Your creativity saved you. Now let it set you free. Your story, your art, your humor, it was never just about survival. It was always training for something bigger. The real question is, what will you do with it now? Now go. Turn your survival into mastery and create with everything you've got.